Bonjour. Oh, yeah. Probably works. No one's complained yet. Yeah, that's fair. That's the funniest thing ever. Mm. Sup's a good one. Sup's a good one. Good.
Good morning, Samoa! And welcome back to Doctor Who, Season 1, Episode 3, Boom, where I had muted the TARDIS engine hum, and I again got confused why I could still hear it very loudly, and I have to remember that I'm not muting the audio, I'm muting it for you. And once again, I am joined by my brother Caden.
Oh.
Oh. Oh.
Not hello. Maybe hello?
I was like, is that
Hello.
your score? Is a 0? Wow, that's low. So Caden.
Yeah.
Boom.
Boom.
10?
10?
10?
You're thinking a 10?
I'm gauging. I kind of want to see your probe.
We're going right in on like the rating.
Not necessarily, but it's up there, right? This was a
It
good
is
one.
up there. I've been debating. I don't know it. I
Okay.
might like. I think I like it more than the Devil's Cord, and I really liked that one.
Oh, it is. This episode is either like the best 9 or the worst 10. That's what this episode is.
I could. Yeah.
My favorite review I saw on the Reddit was not Moffat's best, 9 out of 10. This was fantastic.
It was really good.
This was the best of the 4 we've gotten with 15. This was maybe the best episode of Doctor Who we've had in 7 years. There's only one. I mean, I know you can't comment because you haven't seen the last 7. This, like, the middle 60th special, Wild Blue Launder, might be able to compete. And that's it.
It was great, yeah.
This episode, here, let's switch over to the thing. Hello, Jack Slot. I don't remember if I had said that or not. Before we start, actually, I gotta say, I talked to my wife. They gave Church of Ruby Road a 9 out of 10. They really like the camp. It's very much their thing. I know it's a little high, but 9 plus 6 plus 7 divided by 3. That puts Church at a 7.3. So above Space Babies at 5.8, 341, and just below Devil's Cord at 8, which fair. I think Church is just below. In fact, everyone but Alex rated Church is just below Devil's Cord. Alex made it half a point higher. Alex hasn't seen this episode. They weren't feeling well, so they'll catch up. We'll get their opinion later. But this episode was so much. Last time I said I caught glimpses at the next time on because I hovered over on this side of the time bar.
Yeah.
and I was like, ooh, I saw something, and I'm really hoping the episode's what I think. And I saw, it looked like Ruby was standing on a landmine, just like someone's foot on a landmine. And I went, wouldn't it be cool? Like, that's a great idea for an episode where it's the whole thing is just like Ruby on a landmine, and we're dealing with that. That's a fantastic setup. You could do so much with that. And then when I saw the opening, the Doctor stood on a landmine, I went, yes! Brilliant! Exceeded all my expectations. Jack Slaw, I'm not wrong. Jack Slaw, I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure what you're talking about with your spoons and knowing what the Doctor is. Spoon is the safe word today. I mentioned that before we unmuted ourselves. This episode, though, it had, I mean, first off, Stephen Moffat came back, because, you know, he ran Doctor Who for the 11th and 12th Doctors. He wrote all of the best stories of the 9th and 10th Doctor era. Okay, most of them. Midnight's good. But first off, there was like a celebration of Stephen Moffat in here. I don't know how much you remember, but the church being the military, that comes from Moffat.
Yeah, I was wondering how much that came up in the past.
We had Villengard, the world's best banana grove. That was Stephen Moffat. You remember? Did you catch that one? Villengard, the company that makes all the weapons, is the same people that made Jack's gun in the gas mask episode.
Oh,
and the Doctor turned it into a banana grove. I might not have caught it if we hadn't just watched season 1. But that was a Moffat episode. The song includes lyrics about the moon and the president's wife, which probably is just part of the song. But this also comes up in a Moffat episode where Missy is talking about how she knew the Doctor back when he was a little girl, back when he stole a moon, and back when he kidnapped the president's wife. One of those was a lie. And then I think 2 of them get confirmed, and I don't remember which 2. I think it was that he stole a moon because the Doctor wasn't a little girl when the Master would have known him. But anyway, complex space-time event. I'm pretty sure that originates from Moffat. They had the bit where the computer's like, age, 3,000 years. And they did the same for Amy when she went to the future. They had someone named Posh Graham. And I'm not sure about this, but because I've never heard the name Posh, but I know Posh is like fancy and stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's also one of the church military people. Actually, no, not this one, but he does it a few times. Some characters, like there's a Proper Dave is someone's name, because there's like 2 people in the group, and they're both named Dave. And like I feel Moffat's done this thing with names a lot. I'm not sure. Dad Love Saves the Day. Moffat did that once in an episode that everyone likes, but we have to complain about because it's got James Corbin in it. And then you had the end, the Doctor like pulls out his little mic and does like the mop drop. He's like, wait till Daddy gets home. First off, Daddy is definitely the 9th Doctor here. He's about to go make a banana grove. But second, it's very 11th Doctor. You know, in the 11th hour, his first regeneration one, he famously called the aliens back after saving the day to tell them off.
Yeah.
And he had a similar speech on Stonehenge. Those were all the Moffat references I wrote down.
Loads.
I know we critiqued Russell T. Davies, or at least I did, for kind of reusing material, like jokes and stuff. And the whole age, next of kin things. They did similar things with Amy. But I did feel, first off, I didn't notice myself. That was pointed out to me. And it was just much more naturally built in the story. Like we saw it happen to the other guy. It makes sense for an ambulance thing to do. So it worked better. And then the real meat of the episode, that was the fun. Like, hi, I'm Stephen Moffat. It's been 7 years. I'm back. Look forward to Christmas, because he's writing the Christmas special. We got that confirmed, which everyone, by the way, has just gotten more excited for. Critiques. You had a critique that the military machine, in a lot of militaries in general, are basically just becoming capitalism, and hey, that's bad. This isn't nothing particularly new. I mean, Doctor Who has never liked capitalism unless you're Chris Chibnall, but you have AI algorithms like basically running the world and leading that into something fairly dystopian. medical services optimizing for a casualty rate. You
Yeah.
have critiques of religion and blind faith,
Yeah.
which felt bold for episode 3 of series 1. Especially, we can get into this when we go more into the topic, but they weren't even really soft either. They were basically, they especially led in with, like, all religious faith is bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good that Doctor Who's being bold, I think.
There was a little sort of backtracking towards the end of the episode.
I'm going to put a...
Because there were a lot of statements about it, but then when he was talking to the doctor was
yeah.
talking to the daughter about, like, have your faith and stuff.
I'd like to put a pin in this. We can talk about it when I'm done with the other references, or the critiques. Yeah. Because you also, I think, it might just be this is funny in repeated phrase, kind of Moffat-y, but I felt like you even had a critique on just the sort of saying and ideas of thoughts and prayers, and how it's literally meaningless in these situations. Like, the thoughts and prayers are doing nothing, and the ambulances are giving this message to the people they themselves are causing harm to. This was a loaded episode. We won't take 5 hours to get through it. We really won't. I've got somewhere to be in 5 hours. Which, by the way, our last stream, on top of being longer than all of the other Doctor Who reviews combined, was 17 minutes short of Flux's runtime, including, like, the commercials and the logos and stuff, just the timestamps I have on my Blu-rays. And we forgot to talk about who the big bad was going to be. Remember, I teased that for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then we did. I could have beat JXE in like, Flux legitimately. So we might circle back to that. There's actually some interesting things I've realized in the meantime about not just the villains for this season, but next season. Teasing. There we go. Wait, it is on my notes. Oh, and there's also the theory. Actually, it's not on my notes. There you go. Now it is. But on my notes is also an interesting fan theory that's been circling around that I think you might enjoy, right? It's about those fourth walls.
I still don't know how I feel about them, and there weren't any in this episode that I caught, at least.
Well, they might be a little more than just fourth wall breaks. We're coping, but we'll get there. Do you want to go into the religion, or just kind of start off with our scene by scene? Because I'm happy to go into the religion critique, because that's kind of the meat, I think, of the episode.
Yeah, I think that is a lot of the meat.
Yeah, this isn't new. I mean, I think even when the 11th Doctor had the church as a military, it wasn't really a critique so much. It more just, like, kind of existed. It's like, yeah, the church is the military now. Like, if there's a critique, it's more in the subtext. And there were lines where the Doctor's talking about, like, this planet had 2 heads, but, like, they were real fun, but then they banned self-marriage when they got boring. But, that's the church for you. As the, bishop is standing right next to it. Like, there's critique of religion. But I'd like to know your gauge on this. I felt they were going for really a critique of just blind faith. Hang on, I actually have to find my section of notes.
Yeah,
go on.
I feel that. I feel like the war that was being fought and the people who were fighting the war were put together to push 2 messages about religion and war. And it, like, just the war is dumb. Felt like a lot of that came from the Doctor, and the whole setup of you're fighting no one and you're just doing it because you believe, and of course because you believe, it's because you're these hyper religious people. It's like they sort of feed on each other to say that war is bad and your religion is flawed. It felt like.
See, that's what I think it felt like, but I don't quite think that's what they're going for, right? I think they're going against a critique of, as I said, blind faith. Because there's nothing inherently wrong with religion and religious belief. I mean, fundamentally, basically every religion in the world is just be a cool dude. That's like if you look at compare Christianity and its core tenets to modern Satanism. Do you want to know what the difference is?
What's that?
Take your 10 commandments, replace references with God and Jesus to like the devil, basically the same thing. Like ultimately all religions are like, just be cool, you know? Just be cool.
Yeah.
But of course in history, in the modern times, and you know, basically for as long as we've had religions, there have been subsets that haven't worked that way, or they've had totally blind faith to be like, I believe this is what my religion says. My religion does say this, and I'm not going to question it at all, and lead me to the point where I will literally go to a war against no one, or lead me into, you know, horrible places. I will take my country down like awful paths. I'll be explicit there. I'll elect Donald Trump to, you know, because my religion says, I don't know, gay's bad, guns good. And of course, some of those are ridiculous. Pretty sure the Bible doesn't mention guns. A little early. But, you know, I think that's really where the critique is. And the Doctor's furious that, like, people with absolute blind faith to the most extreme extent, just, he's seen that make the world worse so many times.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. The way they presented it is like, yeah, faith, the magic world that keeps you never having to think for yourself, which is true, but you do need to constrain that a little bit. And so I think that's why you have the scene at the end where it's like, oh, you've got your religion. It makes you feel comfortable that, you know, there's still a connection to your dad, to your mom.
Yeah.
That there is this hope, you know, in a lot of religions. And as I said, the fundamentally just kind of be a cool dude. Be a good person is kind of what the religions want. And that's good. And if you put your faith in the right thing, in those be a good person, that's good. You know, that'll lead to good worlds. But this is where it falls a little short. Like, because it first off, it's way after the initial criticism, and I just feel that wasn't particularly clear.
Agreed. They had their distance in between them.
Unless Stephen Moffat has had some extreme encounter with a religious subset of people in the past 7 years, I don't think Stephen Moffat just hates religion and faith outright. Like, that's extreme.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the world's a different place than it was when he was writing the 11th and 12th Doctors. I think the message needs to be a little firmer. And I think that not heavy-handedness, but, you know, that you need more weight behind your critiques. You need to be less subtle because the issues are more prevalent. There's more war. There's more war on the horizon. There's very concerning developments. The next 4 years of history have some very concerning things lining in place, and they want to address it. I don't know, how vague should I be? Do you want to talk about, like, potential wars between Russia and the European Union with Donald Trump as a president? Or do we want to, like...
And how Doctor Who will
say,
save the
let's
day.
have fun with Doctor Who. Look, you just watched Boom and came here. You probably didn't want, like, you weren't expecting a fun time.
I mean, Boom had a happy ending.
I guess. Okay,
if you're not... Well, I was gonna say if you're not the daughter, but she seemed happy enough.
We'll talk about the ending at the end, I think. But yeah, I mean, half the planet didn't blow up. You know, you are right. They did end a war.
Which I did. On that note, I did like the Doctor's, like, how powerful the Doctor is would blow up half the planet instead of just like a normal person exploding.
You'll love Moffat.
Stakes were cool.
You'll love Moffat's era. That's not particularly new. I mean, this exact situation hasn't come up, but even with, like, the 10th Doctor, there's been, after the Time Lords are gone, there's been a lot of references, like, I'm the last of the Time Lords, and if I ever die, like, burn my body. Because a Time Lord's body is a complex space-time event that could fuel, planets. Like, in the wrong hands, the Doctor's body alone could do horrific things, and we don't want that to happen. So that itself is built, on top. Like, there's a lot of references to Time Lord brains being bigger on the inside, which I've never really understood how that works. They really like that. I'll say, when I was talking about this episode being a 10, I did give it a bit of a disservice because I watched it is on the day it came out, of course, and then I rewatched it before the stream. That's where my notes come from.
Yeah.
In between that time, I decided, you know what? There's a big Finish sale recently. I feel like going through some of my audio dramas. And I chose to go through one of the new War Master ones, Solitary Confinement, Big Finish's consistently strongest range, that produced 4 Big Finish level 10s, which came, that's a whole nother level of 10. This is like a 7 next to the 4 stories I just listened to. This is like their average War Master. So I was funny, like, yeah. I was curious if we'd talk ourselves down. But yeah, I feel like this might be a 10 unless something better comes along this season. Because as I said, it's a...
Well, I've got things that I think sort of don't make it perfect for me.
Oh, it's not perfect. Let me get that out of the way. No, I've got complaints. I've got things that aren't perfect. Absolutely not. But that doesn't change the fact that this is, like, probably one of the top 5 Doctor Who episodes in the past decade. That is strong.
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah, this, Wild Blue Launder, Heaven Sent, I'm sure, is in there. The 2-parter with the Cybermen, that one's real good. And then room for a 5th. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the best one in, like, 10 years. Is that all of 12, 13, and up to now? Probably. 12 doesn't have a lot of bangers, I'm going to be honest. Don't sue me. Don't sue me. I know you love him, but just wait. We'll get to the watch-along. Let me defend myself. All right. Shall we go into the watch-along then, unless you want to add anything about...
No, I'm sad, I think.
You know, I've just realized that last stream was so long, we literally could have done 2 watch-alongs in the middle of it, and that would have been... less than half the runtime.
I will say, this is the 3rd episode in a row where, after stating that it's impossible, the Doctor has been terrified throughout, and specifically actively managing to not be scared in this episode. That was like one of the driving forces.
Well, he was scared, like very clearly. He had trembling voices in some scenes, and like he was terrified. But he managed. I mean, he literally couldn't run in this episode, which. Such a Moffat thing to do. Hey, what does the Doctor always do? Run. Core part of the show. Let's make an episode where he can't. Welcome to Stephen Moffat. Yeah. What was your original... Oh, yeah, no, but he was scared. So again, scared. All 3... Yeah, I bet he's going to be scared in all of them. Everyone.
Yeah, so far, I see that.
We should pay attention when we go through the 10th Doctor, how often he's, like, actually scared. Because 10's got a lot of, like... I can picture him in, like, a concerned face a lot. He's, like, kind of backing up, like, whoa. Like, but, I mean, there's concerned, and then there's really scared.
Yeah,
and the Doctor's always going to be concerned. Unless you're Tom Baker, I guess. He's just here to have a good time.
The fear's new.
Well, I actually think, before we do this scene by scene, I want to talk about that. Because, for again... unless you count the, like, 10 minutes he's in at the 60th after regenerating, he cried quite a bit in this episode again. So that's every episode he's been in, he cries.
Yeah.
Do you have any changing feelings on that from last episode? Because I do.
I don't think so.
For me,
what are yours?
This was kind of the line-crossing episode. Because if you've been with me for this whole journey with the 15, you'll know at Church Ruby Road, I was very kind of excited by it. I really liked that scene where how touched he was when all like those kids, like when Ruby was taken out of history and then Carla's life changed and all those kids. And it felt powerful because, you know, that's like the 3rd time I can ever think of where the Doctor's cried. I think it's a little more, but yeah. It really brings power, and it shows how much that therapy for him has worked. How much more emotionally, I don't know, stable or comfortable he is. He doesn't mind showing these parts of him as much, and I was really excited with what we could do. But now, why did he cry in Space Babies, actually? I'm trying to remember. Didn't he?
Yeah.
What?
And I don't... It was something to do with the babies being babies or orphans or... something.
Oh, when they were killing like the bogeyman.
Oh
Is that
yeah.
when he cried? Yeah.
I think.
And it's like, if you do it every episode, suddenly the weight that was behind that Church of Ruby Road is like it's gone now, because it's just like when I saw him crying this episode, I'm like, oh yeah, he's crying again. Classic 15. Like if he's gonna do it in literally every episode, it's gonna have the opposite. The one episode where he doesn't cry is gonna be like, whoa, he's in serious mode. And
I feel
go on.
kind of opposite. Like, I think all the moments where you enjoy the crying and you think there's an impact, I feel like it's less needed. And in Boom, I really liked it. I felt like it was the way that we could see that the Doctor was absolutely freaking the hell out, even though the Doctor can't exactly move or anything, can't scream, can't do much other than just like sit there and cry. And Ruby's like dying and all these things, and Doctor's freaking out, and I liked it.
I think you'd be right if I hadn't seen him cry every week for the past month. That's my point.
Yeah.
Because I think it was all right in the Devil's Court, where he realized like he's fighting a god again, and he's that
I think
scared.
that part was fun.
That one could work.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just feels like kind of normal Doctor stuff, and this episode was tense. Like when he cries after being handed the like corpse, I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, cough. Casket, that's what they say.
I feel like this isn't an abnormal level of Doctor stress, really. Like it's up there, but for the Doc, he's think about it, he's been doing this basically every day for the past 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Cause he said 1,000 years in the first episode, but he's 2,000 now. I guess Russell T Davies wasn't paying attention, because he was 1,000 when Russell T Davies left, and he was 2,000 when Moffat left. But for me, it's just kind of like you need to save it more.
Yeah, agreed.
And I get the message that like it's important to be emotionally, that you can cry and that's okay, and I'm down for that. But equally, if you're crying every day at every convenience you face, that's the opposite problem, and you should still probably see someone about this, because that's too emotional to the point where it's now an active problem. And it'll be interesting to see if he really does cry in like pretty much every episode.
And is scared.
Well, does he still do it in the EU? That's my question. Like when Big Finish gets a hold of him, does he cry like all the time? Does he cry in his comics, in his books? But to me, it's becoming a little too much. Like, especially for being the Doctor. Weirdly enough, if Ruby cried in every one of these instances, she'd actually make a little more sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just the fact that it is the Doctor.
Yeah.
Has Ruby cried? There's a question.
I can remember. I feel like I can see it once.
I can sort of see it,
but I don't know why.
Oh, you know what? I have seen, but it's in leaked footage from when they were filming on location. So that might be skewing my judgment, because I've seen her cry in a future episode. I think we could probably start with this scene by scene, as I like to call it. I honestly don't really have any notes till the title sequence. I mean, I thought this opening was good. It establishes its characters. It establishes this sort of mechanic. He's very dad, it's like, I know you didn't brush your teeth. It was just good. It sets the setting, it sets the tone, it sets the characters.
It was clean, it was slick.
It explains the world by showing, not telling.
Yeah, 100%.
It helps that I hear Anglican and I go, oh, this is the church military again. Which, funny enough,
I didn't know.
Well, yeah, you didn't know, but
It was nice though that I was able to clock it before they were saying it, because I was like, yo, they got the little things that you put on your throat. They're like church people. What the heck? And then they're like, we're church people. And I was like, yo, they're church people. I felt smart.
I love this. They didn't used to have the like, father, bishop. I don't know the ranks, but the collars.
Yeah.
At least if they did, I never noticed it. But I really like that.
Yeah, me too.
It's a weird juxtaposition, but it kind of works. They're still clearly in fancy priest gear.
Yeah.
but they're in full. Look at this uniform. Like, I could send this to someone, and they'd like read like, yeah, and then eventually they'd go, hang on, are they wearing priest outfits?
I loved it.
Because
The whole costume was really
even
good.
if you don't know, you get the world. And eventually, like 15 minutes in, when they explicitly say the church is the military, it makes sense because Ruby is now like, what the heck do you mean? Because that is weird. Jack's Law, the first time humans took it and reached out for what comes next, does the Doctor still reflect that level of detachment and yet caring? This Doctor is not detached at all. That might be what sets him apart from, like, an aspect that sets him apart from every other Doctor. He's not detached.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most attached Doctor.
Yeah.
My only note, really, this set is nice as well. Really more than it has to be. I've heard. Go on.
I liked it reminded me of when they were broke, and so they parked the TARDIS so that they could use less sets. I liked the just essentially one setting location on the episode. Like, most of it was just in the little crater, which makes he's stuck on a landmine.
I'm pretty sure this is a budget-saving episode to a point.
Worked so well, though.
Yeah. I mean, those limitations often inspire creativity. And this is why Stephen Moffat is so good when he's not in charge. Because when you put him in charge, he doesn't have limits. But when you make him tell a story within one episode, he's really good. Look, you'll see. We'll get to the 11th Doctor. I also noticed you've got little V's engraved into the barrels, too. Apparently, there's a companion show. It's not Confidential, is it? What do they call it now? I don't remember what they call it now. It might be Confidential. Unleashed. I think it's Doctor Who Unleashed, where it's like a behind-the-scenes show where they do every episode after it comes out. Apparently, this one is great because it's Russell T. Davies and Stephen Moffat, two massive Doctor Who fans who ran the show for like 20 years. Literally ran the show. Basically nerding out about like how great Doctor Who is and just referencing random classic episodes. Like they referenced the one where the Doctor's a cactus some reason in this episode. What? Yeah, that's don't worry about it. 80s Tom Baker, man. It's just you want to see a picture? We'll take a massive This is why we were 5 hours yesterday. Doc
cactus.
No, Google Megloss.
What?
Here we go. Cactus.
Megloss.
Here's Tom Baker as a cactus.
Oh,
this is an episode of Doctor Who. It's on my. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen.
You are not. I was
wondering
over the last 2 minutes if that was the case.
See, Kate, remember when we were off air, where I was telling you about that time where I was doing the live stream for an hour and no one mentioned I wasn't live?
Yeah.
This is what you just did. There we go. Here's Tom Baker as a cactus.
I pulled him up on my monitor.
Yep. This is the villain of the episode. Is this cactus?
There's a cactus. It's just cactus, ain't it?
80s Doctor Who, man, with Tom Baker.
Oh, but I know the Vinogi.
Oh, shoot. Is that who they are? I've never made that connection. The green people from David Tennant's last... Yeah. Well, I think it's his last episode, yeah. How did we get from Star Trek? We still do Star Trek, it's just on Saturdays. But Doctor Who is becoming good again, so I decided to cover it. Because I also am a massive fan of Doctor Who. I'm not going to count my Big Finish audio drama library, don't worry. I don't think it's gotten bigger since last week. Yeah, I'm liking, I wonder if you've clocked it all, the Doctor's theme, which is, it plays when he runs out of the TARDIS. How's it go?
I don't know if I've clocked it.
I don't know how to do it. It's mostly the drums, like the bum, ba, ba, ba. We're muted, hang on. It's this. It's that music.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. Any thoughts on it?
I like it. Yeah. There was a moment when, I think it was when the TARDIS first landed. I don't know, whatever I'm liking the music of the season, and there was a really cool choir, I don't know, moments it might have been then, or just at some point in this episode. I don't know. It was really war-y. It was just really good, and I'm liking the music.
I'm liking the music more now that we're seeing. Like, it works very well for 15 in his era. This is the best use of his theme. Because he's very, like, get up and go. I still probably think I Am the Doctor is better. That was the 11th theme. It sounds a lot like the Sonic 06 theme. I don't know why. It does. After this, I'll show it to you. It's the same. It's literally the same. If you don't know, Google I Am the Doctor, and then Google Sonic 06 main menu music. It's the same. And of course Sonic was first because it was Sonic 06. But anyway, here's something that never got referenced directly, but I noticed again. It's a trend. The Sonic was never brought up.
Yeah,
and
I had been wondering if like I get how they could work around it, but like why not just grab the screwdriver and I don't know, turn the thing off. But then if there's a slight change in weight or something, like, I guess.
Well, I assumed he didn't have it on him. And it was actually this episode I realized, the second watch through, could Ruby just go back and get it? Or is it in his pocket, and we've established he can't really move?
I would think it would be in the pocket. That's my interpretation.
Well, it should be. I mean, I also realized, though, literally before I brought it up right now, he mentioned he tried to disarm one of these before, and he failed.
Underwater.
Which implies that the Sonic wouldn't work.
Yeah, I could see that.
There were a few doctors that didn't really use the Sonic. 5, 6, and 7 didn't really have one. So maybe he did it then. But it's a little surprising there's not an explicit reference. Here's where you're going from 10 to 9 here. But I would have thought you'd have some reference, like, what about the Sonic? It's like, it's deadlocked. We already have this. If something's deadlocked, it means the Sonic can't work. I don't ask why. It just can't work. But it's noteworthy that I don't think we might have had someone say deadlock once, but I don't think we've used it as an excuse for 15 yet. We've just used the Sonic cleverly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so far. It's a baffling 180 from the 60th, where it had like force fields and computers. But I am very happy with the direction we're taking the Sonic. We're just using it for clever or not at all.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. How much does AI control the show from the visual to the writing? Absolutely nothing in the show itself. At least so far. They tried to do an AI marketing thing with, like, emails, because Disney's doing the marketing, mostly, you know. That's part of the deal. And there was massive backlash, and then a few days later, they were like, we are no longer using AI for our promotional emails in Doctor Who. But no, I've seen nothing in the main show that's like, oh, an AI might have done this, or even its promotion. Of course, that's not proof that it's not in the promotion, but it's absolutely not in the show. Like, Russell T. Davies is not gonna be using it. And if he is, he's managed to find the way to do it ethically.
Yeah.
But even then, it's a little hard, because when you find the ethical uses, which there are ethical uses, you kind of have to dodge over the fact of how your AI was created in the first place.
Yeah.
So,
very unethically.
Yeah, I don't think Russell T. Davies has his own personal AI.
Not yet.
I really like the justification. I didn't even think it'd be worth mentioning, but he somehow wrote it into the narrative. Is why does the landmine have, like, an obvious green light for a countdown? Capitalism. Because it sells in a showroom, which is so good, because this is how it actually works. I've seen the, like, military showrooms where they try and sell the stuff to the DOD and to the American government. And of course, remember, this is Doctor Who. You know, if it's critiquing something, it's probably the UK, not America. But also, America's hardly the only country in the world that operates. Well, I think we're the only one that operates exactly in the way and the scale we do, but we're not, like, totally unique.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just all the critiques were, except what we've already talked about with the religion overdoing it a little bit. They were all spot on. I mean,
yeah.
Is this the first episode we're really kind of tackling something social in, like this of 15, of course.
I think
Church. Oh no, Space Babies had a bit of an abortion message in there. It just didn't go far. Yeah. Nope. So I guess that's probably, which is bolder, you know, taking a stance on abortion or basically insulting anyone with a religion in the audience. See, oh my gosh, Caden, this is such a breath of fresh air from the 13th Doctor. I just want to make it clear, unless it hasn't been, and you're somehow still here. I don't think either of us are against religion, but I think both of us are definitely against the absolute blind faith for...
Yeah.
I love the bit, we're skipping ahead, but where the Doctor finally says what's going on, and she says, prove it. He just has the look of, like, seriously.
Yeah.
Now. And I love the subtle, because it's not really said, but it's especially this blind faith that we see. Not even just take religion out of it, just any kind of blind faith. Like, will lead people down into war, into these dystopias, into, like, voting for Donald Trump, into removing their rights, into all this stuff. But they will also require absolute rock-solid proof that will often just be rejected anyway, because it goes against the faith, to get out of there. Yep. Like, that line is a commentary on how easy it is for blind faith to get you into trouble and then keep you there.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the one I liked with you as well. You mentioned you liked how kind of shaky the Doctor was, and clearly nervous, which I do like, that he was unsettled by this situation.
Yeah. I like how it was done here more than the other two.
Yeah, when Ruby starts getting close.
Yeah, I really like that moment.
I had to double check on my second watch through, but he doesn't know that he could blow up half the planet at this point. He thinks it's just, like, you know, a personal landmine. That, like, that's only when he really gets proper scared. And there's... Actually, no, the moment it happens is when he's asking Ruby to describe it. She's like, there are about 4 fingers of lights. And he goes, okay. He's like, cracks. I can see why this was Ncuti Gatwa's favorite episode of Doctor Who so far.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Like, even if it was bad, as an actor, there's, like, so much for him to do and so much for him to dig into. Like, this was his range. This is the Dalek of this season. This is, you know, when everyone... And it is. Like, looking at the Reddit, this is when everyone kind of sat back and said, all right, we're still good. We're still good. Because we all, by and large, we liked it. We had some criticisms. We still weren't sure on the vibe. But here we were like, all right, no, we can still have good Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And then, of course, very incredibly Doctor, the moment after he's assessed his extraordinarily dire situation, and he is, like, the moment he's done, he's like, I know exactly what my situation is, and I can stand here for a bit. The immediate priority becomes, somebody was screaming like 5 minutes ago. Go check that out.
And I like the justification too. Ruby was like, you need help. And he's like, I'm not screaming yet. You know, I got a minute.
It's so Doctor.
Yeah.
I've seen people complaining, and I know you can't say too much about this, that, well, not even necessarily complaining, just some of them were just observing, that, they very much could see, like, the 11th and 12th Doctors, Stephen Moffat's Doctors, doing this and delivering these lines. When I try, I can put 11 in a lot of these situations. 11 wouldn't have cried. 11 would have put on a brave face for most of this.
Yeah.
But I don't... 12, I think you're a bit crazy. But I disagree. I think this was Ncuti Gatwa all the way. This was 15.
Yeah.
And I'm liking that. Like, he's the Doctor, don't get me wrong. And I'm sure there's parts where I'm like, oh yeah, any Doctor would do this. Or even, as I just said, I could put 11 in a lot of these lines. But he's new. He's fresh. He's definitely a different take. Even if I'm complaining about how far they're going with some things, no doctor before would do this.
Mm-hmm.
It might be what they were going for 13, but just not written as... I mean, look, we got an great episode, Doctor Who, and it's really brought out my resentment. Okay. Oh god. I write these really fast because I don't pause to watch the episode to write the notes. So I wrote, love the Kakum drones. Because I did really like, on top of just everything we've talked before, those vacuum drones they have.
Yeah.
It really helped build, like, there's a world going on around here. Like, these drones are just doing their job.
Yeah.
You even got the jab, like, oh yeah, we have to make sure that they don't die of smoke before they get shot. We don't want people to die until we say they die. Visually stunning. I mean, this planet would definitely be pulled apart by the gravity of all the other planets, but we'll brush past that. Cool effect. And of course, narratively, we don't need the blurred visibility anymore, so let's get rid of it and just make the episode look better.
Yeah, it serves its functional purpose for the story like that, and the world building really is just so great, and the atmosphere in this episode, yeah, I love it.
And look at this visual. They're just like, can I get one of those for my place?
Just fly around.
It just goes above the house and all the dirt flies out the roof. But we got some interesting development here, right? Because apparently this is Ruby's first time on an alien world.
Yeah.
In 6 months of traveling with the Doctor. What is this? The 9th Doctor and Rose?
Yeah, which it is a little odd because they had the whole moment where they went through on Space Babies, looking through the glass when the Doctor was explaining how the TARDIS's communication thing can work. Like, Ruby gets the view of space and planets and stuff.
Technically, she's not on another world at that point, though.
Yeah.
And we know for a fact that episode is directly after the Christmas special, because we see her.
Yeah.
Like, we see it. If this series is being broadcast out of order, that is the only one that is not. And probably the last one. Like, that's the only one we know is not out of order.
Yeah, I love the moment, and I love it here. I guess it's just an interesting take to put it on the 3rd episode.
I think this is now where we talk about that fan theory I teased. Because Ruby's... by the way, I think I've seen some people in the Reddit mention they confirmed it's been like 6 or 8 months. But also a lot of other people going, where? I didn't hear that. And also I didn't hear it on my second watch through. Maybe they did. So I think technically this could come before Devil's Cord. But if this is so early that, like, it's Ruby's first alien planet, she is leagues too confident for how she's acting.
Yeah.
I'm going to maintain that we're broadcasting the season in chronological order. I don't think we're doing a Witcher.
I'll stick with that until proven otherwise.
Oh, yeah, I could be wrong, but I don't think we're doing... And, by the way, this is the intended order of broadcast. Some people were saying, oh, Devil's Cord was meant to be episode 6, with, like, circumstantial evidence. But in that show I mentioned, you know, the after show, the companion show, they show them on set filming the episode, and they refer to it as episode 2. So if there was a change, it was early enough that you could have rewritten some things, or, like... Because other people point out, why is the Doctor's Sonic red? Remember I told you I thought it was the reflection? But no one else mentioned that. Either I'm the smartest Doctor Who fan in the universe, or it actually was red, and this just wasn't addressed. Maybe he just has it looks cool. He's got cases, you know?
Cases for the screen.
I still think it was the reflection. Well, why not? Actually, they reference that all the Sugrivers are supposed to be like the same. It's just a different case. Even though we see a lot of them get destroyed, don't worry about it. Don't think about it.
Not thinking.
Yeah. Stephen Moffat wrote that line. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't think about it. But anyway, there's a theory, right? Because Ruby Sunday is the perfect companion. And I don't mean that she's the best companion. I mean that if you were to sit down and go, like, mechanically, in universe, who would be the perfect companion for the Doctor to have? It's Ruby Sunday in every way. Right?
Okay.
She's intelligent, she's confident, she gets told she's holding a dead corpse, and her reaction is like, seriously? Well, a little less like, you know, but she has never cracked, even under, like, extreme circumstances. She's handled herself extraordinarily well, which isn't inherently nothing new. Even their first interaction, really, is like, she's on the ladder. He's like, seriously? You saw a ladder in the sky? You were like, oh yeah, I'll give that a go, babes. She gives vibes of so many companions after they've been traveling for the Doctor for years. She's very Clara, who was so capable. The whole point is that she was basically becoming the Doctor. She's very late Amy. But, and this is actually almost to her detriment, because we're seeing, like, it's really been 6 months since you've been on an alien planet, or, like, we're not getting to see her build a relationship with the Doctor. It's like she has been with the Doctor for 60 years and just knows what she's doing the whole time. Even Rose was competent. And, like, she knew what she's doing, but she was also, like, she had a panic attack in her first trip in the TARDIS because it was extremely overwhelming. And like, she still, like, freaked out a bit. She's just good under pressure. And all the companions are like, what is going on? And even in the Goblin episode, Ruby didn't really have that. She was like, protect baby. It's like, I guess she did. And once it was all done, she did kind of crash, like, what the hell has been happening? Yeah, but also, a part of that was just with her parents, you know, like her biological parents, that she just learned they weren't there. And so, even the people who give the theory are like, this is a big helping of copium. It's like, I don't like fourth wall breaks. But there's a theory that since the 60th, in universe, right, the Doctor is no longer in reality. It's not that the Doctor is in a TV show. He is in universe, not in reality anymore. That one of the gods, presumably the big bad of the episode, or like a group of them, have plucked the Doctor into, like, some fictional world for their entertainment. And so what we are seeing is literally fiction. And Ruby Sunday doesn't exist as, like, a person. They are a companion. They are literally a character built to be the perfect companion for the Doctor. And it's a very intriguing theory. And this also helps explain the fourth wall breaks, is that the gods know that they are in fiction, and they literally, like, it doesn't exist. They're not breaking our fourth wall. They're breaking, like, the fourth wall they themselves have constructed. So the Doctor doesn't know the gods are just watching this.
Okay, I kind of like that.
Very meta. In this season has been very meta. This episode wasn't, but it wasn't written by Russell T Davies. You know?
I kind of like that.
Well, it fits really well, like, especially when you watch Ruby and these complaints, because I like Ruby, but I agree that she is the perfect companion, and it's at a detriment to her character, because we aren't seeing her reach that point. She just was.
100%.
If this isn't in some way the answer, that, like, Ruby was constructed to be a companion for the Doctor, then it's an amazingly written series of events for such a story. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. I mean, there's nothing in the episode titles that suggests, like, you know, tune in next week. If the finale was tune in next week, I'd be theory confirmed. But it's called The Empire of Death, so, you know. It's...
Yeah, well. I like that theory, though. I like that. It's far out, but it's not too far out for me to be like, no, that's gross.
Oh, actually, Jax, you're right. AI did have a part in this. It did the mouths for the babies, didn't it?
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Well, presumably. I don't think someone hand drew all that lip syncing. Like, I am assuming, but it was also definitely AI that did the baby lips. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it develops, you know? Until they release, like, the bad episode of the season, we'll have high hopes. But after that point, you know, Doctor Who will be ruined.
Maybe we'll be lucky and Space Babies will be the bad one.
I hope Space Babies is the bad one. Like Space Babies just feels like such a mid-season slump. Like it was just kind of meh and all right. I guess I wouldn't say that many seasons have one that's like that was god awful. I don't think you really get an episode like that until Peter Capaldi, probably. Don't quote me on that because I don't have all them in front of me. But yeah, mostly you just kind of get that was kind of meh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting theory. This, by the way, is if that's the theory, it doesn't really tie into who I think the big bad is at all. Which is worth looking up. Other than like generally, there's two theories for the big bad, but I want to save that till the end because if I want to veer into spoiler territory, I want to tell people they can leave, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I had that line where I was confused, where it was like the doctor's afraid because Rui will be caught in the blast, but he doesn't learn how big the blast is until he kind of glows. And then he asks the soldier lady, like, what exactly is this process? What's going to happen? And then he realizes. I love you can stop me, by the way, if there's anything before this you want to talk about. Space. This is Space Babies right here. We're like, nah, get out of here. Look, it's got an eye. Look at how well Ruby handled it. There has to have been some scene where like they were gonna comment on that fact.
The other one's got an ear.
Can I put this on YouTube? I'm actually gonna change frames. It's a little unsettling. But this was such a great setup for the drama when you hear the little girl's voice. Everything, this escalation. This is an episode about escalation, and everything was handled perfectly. Yeah. So I don't know about you, but when you hear the little girl's voice, I don't remember exactly where it clocked, but there's a bit where I realized it's like they've got her dad's remains. She's going to want those, and they can't give them away.
Yeah.
Because they literally need them or the doctor's going to die. And it's such, like, even it was a disrespect for whatever. I didn't know, but you could see the setups, and they're like, oh no, it's just...
Even the payoff of the daughter wanting the remains is set up for when the soldier comes.
Yeah.
Monday.
Well, it did. How did I forget her name was Monday? It did. Monday was the one who wanted it, really, not so much the girl. But like this was just the escalation of oh no, and it's brilliant. Like, I think we should address they're not going to kill the doctor, right? They're not gonna kill Ruby unless we really are. I wondered when she did get shot if we are broadcasting out of order and they just killed Ruby in this it's like we know she's gonna die because that could be interesting, traveling with a companion you know who's gonna die.
That would be like Disney. One of the things that I would get behind that idea. Disney
idea. The doctor meets someone. Season 1. Wait, this was River. The first episode we meet River and she dies. Damn it! No, she does. She dies in her first episode. I'd say spoilers, but I guess.
I've seen it. I just don't remember it.
Yeah. So. Oh God, where were we?
Daughter, daddy. Casket.
There is a little bit in here though. You know the girl's like, mommy got gathered up early because the doctor wanted her in heaven. I feel this is going to come up again. Did you get that vibe?
How do you mean?
I just felt, for one, it's a really weird way to say it, like gathered her up early, especially the use of gather. Like, I've never heard, these are Christians, I've never heard of the concept of God gathering the dead. Or, like, usually it's took. Maybe you don't want to be as negative, but it feels like there's some sort of regular harvest. And she was like, he loved her so much that he gathered her early. I feel like this is something someone of the Pantheon is doing and we're going to do later. Especially...
I could see that. I took it as just like it's what her dad told her happened.
Empire of Death. Hey. No, well, it's also, they just weirdly kind of brought attention to it. She just said God gathered her up early. everyone would realize this is a religious person. Her mom died. Boom. Right. But Ruby would kind of weirdly like, oh, how do you mean? And like they give kind of weird looks afterwards. It just felt a little, just an out of, in like Scooby-Doo or an old cartoon where there's like a wall, but there's a section of the wall that's animated a little differently because it's going to move later. That's what this was. It was just a little bit out of place. And you're like, ooh, you're going to go through that part of wall at some point.
I could see it.
We'll see. I could be wrong, but after this, we'll do a watch-along of all of our live streams, and we'll comment on. It'll be like a 2-day live stream, and we'll just comment on everything we got right and everything we got wrong. Okay, I did have a feeling. What do you think? Oh yeah, not like what we got in Star Trek. This was better than what we got in Star Trek this week. Look, this just was better. Full stop. Oh god, we're really behind in my little watch along. Even the setup there was his voice that drew the daughter. Like, I felt the daughter in her blurry face right here was a little too kind of unaware of the world that she is in. Yeah,
a little. She was, well, it's weird because she was oblivious and knowledgeable exactly to what was happening.
Yes.
Like she didn't know, but then her dad's dead, and she's like, well, that's fine because he was gathered, and I'm going to see him and all these things, but...
Well, I think
I don't know, she knew and didn't know anything.
Some people have speculated she's supposed to be younger than the actress is, or makes her look.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
And there's the part of like, well, maybe the dad wants to protect her from the fact she's literally in a war zone. And like doesn't, I mean, he's talking about brushing teeth, not, hey honey, I'm a bit busy right now. I'm blind in a minefield with ambulances around. But there's maybe like she doesn't want to believe he's dead, but she sees the holograms and like doesn't seem to know what these urns are. Even though she presumably would, like, there are a lot of dead soldiers. You'd think it's something she would encounter, even if her dad tries to keep it away, or she'd have heard of it. She'd have seen these we saw a hologram graphic message being given to someone in this episode. She doesn't seem to spot the landmine, which you'd hope she's aware of if she's left. That her dad would say, like, don't leave the compound, it's a landmine.
Yeah, you'd hope.
And she kind of seems really eager to engage with the holographic dad that she should know isn't really her dad. Even the episode doesn't pretend it's her dad. It's like there's essence of your dad in here.
Yeah.
And of course I'm assuming the character's beliefs, but I'm especially surprised that like a very religious person who would presumably have some sort of concept of the soul, or like an actual essence that an AI couldn't reproduce, is happy in the active war zone to look at pictures of like the antelope, or it didn't quite fit with me.
Yeah, I could chalk it up to like, that absolute denial of a child. Like, he's not dead. But she wasn't someone who would be sad if her dad died, clearly.
Well, yeah, that was it. You never had that confrontation, I guess, where she had to realize or... Yeah. And she did accept that, oh yeah, my dad's dead at the end. And it didn't it actually really didn't bother her at all.
At all.
I mean, if you had a 5-year-old and you gave them an AI of their dad, they also probably wouldn't mind, at least for a good while. Like, what they... Yeah, that's my dad. What's like the 5-year-old gonna know? But she does acknowledge that her dad is dead. It's just he's with her in like a Christian, the dead are with us all the time.
Yeah.
And I like Ruby's. It's like, yeah, but he's still dead. Like, come on. It was a little... I agree at the end on my second watch through. Like, it almost felt too positive.
Yeah.
That, this whole message about the blind faith and the war and all the trauma. But actually, it's all right. And also, death is kind of like, we all need to die one day, so it's okay that, like, he died.
Yeah.
That felt weird. We'll get to
felt like
my
the
rant
backtracking.
about death being important. It was just, I think they realized that they were a little hard at the in the middle, and they didn't want to tone that back for reasons. So instead, they kind of tried to make up at the end. I think it would have been much more poignant. It's like, let's let her keep this comfort, especially one that like we don't necessarily believe. Let's let her have that. It's like I can't prove to you your dad isn't with you. I mean, I guess there was that time where we literally went to like the afterlife that like the master had created and is implied to be the origin of the concept of human afterlife. And I think Torchwood confirms there is no afterlife. Or rather, if it is, it's really not a good place. But besides those points, this is Doctor Who. You know, we
Yeah.
yeah. We agree. But, you know, might be a 10. If this is how we talk about a 10, I think we might have some justification for if people say we're a little too negative. Yeah. Speaking of which, my next note is a nitpick. Bleepy phone things feels like a tactical error. I just realized if you're sitting in the bushes and then like you're ambush and your cheek goes beep, beep. Maybe she just didn't put it on mute. But okay, let's not nitpick this thing. This was something that was enhanced on a second watch through. Because I didn't clock the first time. When they land on this planet, the Doctor's like, we're in a war zone. It's like, that's a bit weird. This is a real empty area of space. Yeah. Why would anyone fight a battle here? And then here, when he's like, who are you fighting? She says, the Castarians. The Doctor gets a look on his face. I might even be able to find it. That might be it. Where that's when he realizes what's happening.
Yeah.
Because he knows, look at them. That's a furious man right there. He knows there are no Castarians, and so he goes, really? Tell me about the Castarians. And it's like, he gets so, that's why he's so angry at the sentient mud.
Yeah.
Because I think the first time I was like, fair, but I mean, come on, Doctor. Like, you've seen weird stuff. He's literally seen sentient mud. But no, it's because he knows exactly what's going on. He's like, my life is in danger. This whole planet is in danger. And you're killing each other because of this. Because of nothing. And I love when the things come together, you know, on the second watch-throughs. Something else that was pointed out. Again, feel free to stop me if I'm going too fast. But the Doctor gets shot multiple times in this episode. And, like, Ruby basically dies. This doesn't really happen. Like, I'm sure the Doctor's been shot before. But there's a gratuity or, like, a... weird coming from Stephen Moffat, but, like, a down-to-earth, gritty realism aspect of this episode that really enhances it for me.
Yeah. I do think... I was slightly a little in the moment. Doctor gets shot 3 times in the arm, and I'm like, okay, hairpin trigger landmine. I would imagine you move a little.
Well, okay, to be fair, after he gets the canister and we've resolved the tense plot of the Doctor needs to put his leg down, that's not a joke. He turns his head. He's a lot more mobile. He probably
I suspended my disbelief.
I could put it past me, yes. Especially because we haven't really established how much movement is needed.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, you're right. I could get past it. Because it's like, well, maybe he was just controlling his adrenaline better in this moment. But, yeah, it's interesting that they put so much weight on, like, even just his adrenaline changes in state of being. But then he's getting shot actively. And it's like, it's fine. They might, to be fair, they might have blinked the light. Or something like that, like had the landmine react, but I don't think
it might have, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, can we appreciate the line? I'm a lot more explosive than I look, and honey,
yeah,
I know how I look.
I loved that one.
I think that's the first time we've heard Ncuti Gatwa acknowledge that he's a very attractive man. Like, is that how you can tell he's angry? is that he complimented himself.
Getting sassy.
Because he even has the bit when he's facing Maestro, where he's like, "Oh, I would never call myself genius," and now he's like, "Honey, I know how I look." Do you want? No, I'll save it to the end. All right, remind me. There's an interesting little tidbit about this casting choice, but
Okay.
I'm gonna save it till the end behind our little spoiler gate. And okay, we talked about the explosive lines. There were a lot of amazing lines. I think it's because Stephen Moffat wrote this episode. I just little in the background things like, "Can I help you with any latent regrets?" And
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're brilliant. I didn't write them all down, but there was plenty of times, especially on the second watch through, where I was paying a little more attention to some of the background dialogue, where I gave little chuckles. I mean, we just had the one like, even the ones that went to the plot, like capitalism sells better in a showroom. Just brilliant, brilliant little lines.
Yeah, there were loads of good ones.
I think you're gonna like Stephen Moffat. This is such a dumb frame with zero context. Where'd my sandwich go? Is it in here? Oh no, that's not the mouth hole.
The face phones, they were interesting, but I didn't hate them. They were interesting.
Oh no, they're fine. I mean, I guess it's just a futuristic walkie-talkie.
Yeah,
you'd
basically.
save the prop department having to make a walkie-talkie. I loved, again, just the constant escalation. The whole sequence where Ruby gets shot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the one that's set up that also comes out of nowhere, but as soon as you see the new soldier, you're like, oh, yeah, like, duh.
Yeah.
Like, you can see you realize all the dominoes getting set up to just this sort of stupid mistake.
Oh, and the doctor can't do anything; just stands there.
Yeah,
I love that.
Brilliant, especially in this moment. Like the kind of quiet cry of anguish he gets. This is one of the part. If you're gonna have him cry in this episode, save it till there, because that's like the build up that's finally coming out. Because he knows he can't move, and if he moves, he makes it worse. But he also knows he has to move, and he's undeniably the most qualified individual to deal with every one of these problems, and he just can't.
In this moment that we're looking at right now, when the ambulance is approaching, it's great that like he knows it needs to stop it, but he can't scream or anything, so he just like says like lightly, it's like, "Someone stop it."
The
Someone
doctor.
Stop it. Oh.
Even with the episodes where like he is not the agent of change in the driving force, which are rare, but they exist and they're usually good. He's still like the driving force of what he and his companions do, and like whatever they're doing next to it. But it's not that he realizes right away. There's a moment where he realizes the ambulance is kind of turning them, and he goes, "Stop it," because he is just helpless. And when you add the context of this is like his first few trips after his therapy, like this is easily the worst day he's had since however long he's spent working on himself. It's almost the return to all of everything he was running from all those years. I love it. This is what the whole episode was building to. And look, we're still behind. Where actually are we in the episode? We're like way over here. There we go. Hey, Ruby does cry.
Yeah.
There we go.
One tear.
One single death tear. We get the next of kin reference, which is kind of it's weird because it's intriguing, but it really shouldn't be, right?
Yeah, it's like it doesn't say anything, but
I think
my ears are perked.
I think what it's really doing is establishing that Ruby might actually die. Because as I said, they did this before with Amy. In her first trip, it's to the future. She leaves on like her wedding night because she's getting like, she's nervous. She's getting maybe cold feet, stuff like that. So it is a bit where it goes through like her age, and that says marital status, kind of loading, and she goes, "Oh, do I marry Rory? Do I like do this stuff?" And that just pops up unknown, because it's like she hasn't decided yet, So I kind of get the sense that it doesn't know whose Ruby's descendant are because it doesn't know if she's died yet, if she goes on to have kids yet. And I think it's either an aspect of that or just mystery. Like, who is Ruby? Who is...
Yeah, I mean, I think if she didn't have any children, it would have just said none. I mean, it was able to identify everything else about her.
Also consider, it's been 3,082 years. If she did have one kid, tracing her direct descendants is exponential growth. Like, the loading could easily be, at this point, it's considering 40,000 individuals and, like, still trying to load, and it just, like, runs out of memory at some point.
Yeah, I think
like,
the decision to make it stump the machine was different to me than if it said, like, unknown.
It might just be nothing as well. It's just like, yeah, let's throw some intrigue in there. It's not nonsensical. There, as I just said, there are a lot of reasons the machine just wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Ruby, I think, is kind of delirious. Is like, who's my next of kin? It's like, Ruby. Priorities.
You're dying.
Priorities, girl. She's just, I think she doesn't really know what she's saying. But it's worth noting that Ruby apparently can die. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if she's part of some, like, God's grand plan, which, let's be honest, she probably is, you'd think they might stop that. You know, they might say, no, Ruby can't die. She's supposed to be in the Empire of Death.
Interesting point.
Now, Susan Twist could always be, like, her mom or her guardian. Ooh, actually, I like that. I like Susan Twist being some sort of, like, guardian. That, like, a god has hired her, or she's, like, a lesser god, and she has to watch over Ruby for, like, big god. No, there we go. Stick my little theory in there. But because Susan Twist is the lady in the ambulance. I don't know if you caught that.
Oh, I didn't know that was...
I wasn't sure.
That makes sense. I would have just assumed she was someone in the back of the military base.
I wasn't sure.
She looked different in the ambulance.
Until they had the hologram of her full body, and I went, yes, that's her. But I can show you when her hologram pops up. That's Susan Twist, and I've seen, you know, confirmation on Reddit. People in chat are probably like, what? Like... Oh yeah, I was gonna check. I thought it said 432 seconds until she dies. 38, 37, 5 minutes, give or take. 432, 60.
There was, it was the...
Ah, there we go. No, that's still in the time frame.
See, that bothers me because the Monday said the doctor's mind countdown had 4 minutes, and then like 4 minutes go by, and the doctor's like, how much time do I have left? She's like, about 3 minutes.
Does she say it has 4 minutes? No, she's talking about Ruby, I assumed, had like 4 minutes.
No, she was there's a moment where she talks about the failsafe on the mine, and it'll be 4 minutes.
Are you sure she doesn't just say like a few? Well, I'm checking. There might be
I got it. I got it in my brain.
Oh, all right. Well,
because it grinds my gears, mashes my potatoes when they make note of special timing, and then
you're gonna hate 42, which is an episode of Doctor Who that takes place canonically over the course of 42 minutes. It takes about 42 minutes to resolve the episode, but it's not in real time, and that's where Chris Chibnall is gonna forever lose you. But sorry, I'm in my second monitor just trying to find what model Roomba that mine is. It might not be a Roomba. Oh, wait, is it that one?
Could just be a fancied up Roomba.
It might be this one.
Oh, it might be that one.
It might be that Roomba. If it is a
lights
Roomba
around the outside.
Well done. Maybe it's a Roomba case. It doesn't have to be a Roomba, but from this view, you kind of realize it does look a lot like a... Yeah, I wonder if his footing is consistent. Like, if is this a continuity nightmare? That's if we really want to be mean to it. Right, going forward. I mean, the reveal. Do you want to talk anything about the reveal of what's happened? You know, what the war is?
Oh, the reveal?
Yeah.
I think it was done all right. I have problems with after the reveal.
Okay. Yeah, I liked on my second watch through, I kind of realized more how he's talking to Ruby and it just cuts waiting for her to respond.
I like that.
There's a desperation in that, you
Yeah.
know, and yeah, this whole episode, brilliant. 10 or 9 out of numbers. I wish that like a scale of 1 to 10 went up to 10.9. Because I want to say this is either a 9.9 or a 10.1, but that doesn't make sense. Oh no, my notes. I lost my highlight. I did want to point out the surrender would switch off the landmine, which on my first watch, I was like, oh, thank God that the evil corporation actually progressed in one way. Because the biggest problem...
That's a good point.
Well, the biggest problem with landmines, and like the reason... I'm not sure if they're illegal. Certain types of landmines are definitely illegal. And why like they're so hated by like the international community is because they stick around. And like anywhere you deploy... Like Western Ukraine is not going to be safe for a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happens in the war.
You could justify it in universe that they'd be losing money if they left those landmines on.
Ooh, that's like patent protection. I
well,
realized
like maybe if you go out and return a landmine, you'll get paid like $50 and they can resell them.
I just told you, right? The international community hates landmines because they kill well after the war.
Oh, yeah,
that's not going to sell well.
Yeah, it's not going to sell.
That's a war crime, right? But if you sell a mine that disarms itself automatically when you surrender,
don't sell.
Well, suddenly that's a fair game. Like a civilian died to a landmine, well, they shouldn't have been walking through a minefield. You know, like you've turned it, you've twisted it. And so, yeah, on my second watch though, I actually fixed that. And it's also such a very, like, oh, we've made the killing humane now. Because even then, landmines are like... I guess this one, it does actually kill you. But landmines are pretty vicious in the way that they often don't.
Yeah.
Or the ways they do, they kill... There's really no middle ground. Don't use landmines. Like...
Yeah.
It's just not good. Oh my god, here's where we get the line, like, now you need proof. Oh, I do wish it was a little clearer. So they landed. They set off their, like, warning shots. This triggers the algorithm, the casualty algorithm. And that's why they're fighting themselves. I'm a little confused on how, like, the cycle starts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you'd think then this happens all the time, unless they don't usually land on uninhabited planets. So I was thinking maybe they're, quote-unquote, advertising their presence, announcing themselves, was, like, spewing landmines and weaponry everywhere. I guess, presumably, they've got some sort of, like, auto turrets or, I don't know, something.
Yeah.
Like auto artillery that just started firing randomly. Or maybe we're supposed to believe this is just what the corporation does, and this happens everywhere. And they just the church got duped by capitalism. A storyline which probably makes nobody happy. You want a sad Doctor Who? Tell an episode where the church just gets duped by corporate greed. Because then but like a really corrupt church. Just make nobody happy.
Yeah, there were a lot of things in the episode that like I did really like.
Well, here's the 9, right?
They just needed a little more explanation.
There's a lot of 9 in this 10 out of 10. Or there's a lot of 10 in this 9.
Yeah.
Which one is it? That's the question. We really need it to go to 10.9 so that we could give it a 10 and just call it like bottom tier 10. Because 9.9 feels like, you just missed it. Something else people have pointed out. Again, the Doctor's reference like being a father or having a family.
Yeah,
like dad
directly
to dad.
in this one.
This has
multiple
come up
times.
Like every episode. His family. I'm pretty sure, right? I haven't counted, but I'm reasonably confident that there have been more direct references to the Doctor having a family and being a father than in the previous 60 years of the show. Assuming, unless you count every time Susan says the word grandfather. Like, which again, she could be like, we literally didn't know if Susan was actually that was actually a biological relationship until the 10th Doctor mentioned he had been a father.
Yeah.
Even then, we don't know if it's a biological relation. We have never heard reference of a wife or any spouse of the Doctor other than River. Like, it wasn't her.
They're toying a lot with it, and it excites me.
So it's exciting. Well, it's got to be Susan, surely. It's got to be Susan coming back. I mean, he literally has no other family we've seen. Like, I'm sure he has kids. He has parents. He's got to, like,
somewhere.
But we've never had them referenced. Well, no, because he grew up in like an orphanage, I think.
But he was also like, born in another universe out of something.
No, like in Time Lord, it's heavily implied he grew up an orphan, but he's also like part of the really prestigious Time Lord house, so they've got to know something about his lineage.
Yeah. Well, because he's also that, like, god, sort of.
He has someone he seems to consider like a mother. There's like a caretaker of this orphanage barn thing he lived in. His past is really unclear,
Yeah.
There's a lot of detail missing, but presumably the Doctor does have parents or like someone who raised him. In the EU, he's got a brother.
Oh, interesting.
Who I think tried to kill him.
And
might have been president, and that's why he fled Gallifrey. But Braxiatel has got a long, storied history. Okay. You mentioned you had complaints after the reveal. Where would they come? We ready?
Oh, they might come at the very end when everything gets solved. I have a problem with how everything got solved.
Right. My next note is when Canton dies. At least that's the name that is in my notes. Again, I really loved this whole sequence.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, I thought this was going to be what finally convinced her to surrender. It was sort of going to be like that last absolutely avoidable death that no Doctor, she did cause. Like, the Doctor even has a look when she's grieving, where it's like he's finally seeing her realize that, like, maybe actually they have died for nothing, and her faith in this moment has led her astray, and the corporation has led her astray. It's a little bit. I don't know if their faith has necessarily led them astray, because like they don't work for God. Here's the look. Yeah. They don't work for God. They're working for a corporation or a state or both. I think a state, because the corporation just sells the weapons.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really like the tragedy, narratively speaking. Like his last words, like he was so close to finding out she did love him, and just the message of like, I love you, and it's okay you don't love me back. I thought was finally gonna be. I think it would have tied it together better than what they did do, which is like almost the final realization that like, hey, war is actually pointless and bad, and you think you might want it, but you don't. Which especially now is like such a pertinent message in the UK and the US, like everywhere in the world, is like, no, I think you don't actually realize what going to war means. And I don't think you actually realize how much you don't want what you're advocating in the sort of worlds you're going for. And you really should realize that before you get to this point.
I would have liked that more.
It's still saying those things.
Yeah, it is.
It wasn't the resolution to the plot. And I guess so it's not as much of a focus. I mean, look, this isn't really the look of someone sad. This is a look of like seeing someone put together the pieces.
Yeah.
Being so close to like realizing that yes, what's actually happened. And it kind of would have shown like a you can still come out of it kind of vibe, I guess. Which they did show at the end, like everyone's hunky-dory. But
very hunky-dory.
We'll get to the ending. And yeah, we already talked. I love the helplessness, the whole situation. And I just have to mention as well, like even when the dad comes back and he still says like do your teeth through the whole episode. What's her name? Skirp. What's the kid's name? Splint, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever, kid. This is your father's dying wish. The essence of your father, what little remains, just keeps telling you to brush your teeth. She's gonna brush her teeth every day. Twice a day, every day. 3 minutes a day, even. Like, kid,
I did really like...
you deny your father... If this was a much different tone, you would have had the doctor be like, what now? And you'd have the doctor go, kid, his dying wish.
I loved how they did the AI dad, especially in the moment when the doctor's trying to convince the dad to go and, like, look for proof and stuff, that there isn't a moment... these are totally separate, but for the sake of
go on
analogy, when like the Eccleston's talking to Rose as the hologram, and then it's like totally not a hologram, it is a person. I like that through and through, this was like a hologram, and there was no moment of like, I'm still a person in here. It's like, no, definitely gone, but there was enough in there to do good. I loved that they didn't humanize him, which managed to humanize him more, sort of. I don't know. I loved it. I loved how it was done.
I like it to a point, which is that ending we're dodging around. But no, I think it helps Doctor Who, because they've had stuff like this for ages. They've even had like people, quote unquote, surviving through technology after they've died. Stephen Moffat did it in the episode that introduces River. They've got people who die, but their little comm badge maintains them. You've got a weeping angel who steals someone's voice. We don't question it. So again, more like Moffat self-love. But if you don't like Stephen Moffat, I can really see how this episode grinds your gears. I've complained. There's a little movement, I don't know if you realize, in media, because these companies, especially like Disney, but a lot of these big companies really would like to use AI. You might not have noticed, but being that this is absolutely going to be the best television show for the next year or so, because all the others were on strike. But to kind of push AI as like a super positive force, I actually complained about essentially this exact same thing in Star Trek, like 2 weeks ago, which coincidentally had a character who was working like on an AI reconstruction of their grandmother. And they mention it's like a therapy coping thing to, you've lost a loved one. Here's like this AI reconstruction of your grandmother, who we've established the grandmother was actually in some way religious, and did not ask for this. Like, they died a long time ago before this tech was available. And he's like, oh, brilliant, we could really use this. And there's like no indication. I genuinely felt like uncomfortable watching that, because it's perfect. It's like a perfect recreation of his grandmother. It is his grandmother as far as he is like aware, and it's just accept it's his they brought a grandmother back to a life with AI. This is a thing people have tried before. Disney has tried this before. It might not be Disney, but like Marvel, owned by Disney, tried that with Stan Lee, where they put like his Twitter account they used to like promote something. And they've discussed, I'm like, there's no, like, that's a fantastic episode of Star Trek. Like, a fantastic premise in itself that they just got back. So it's like, oh, look, AI is actually, like, good people. Like, let us use, like, ChatGPT to write a script, or what's the AI? The Dolly? What's the
Dolly's,
image
like,
one?
images, yeah.
Do they still use Dolly? What's the new hot
I don't know.
AI? I don't know. We don't know. We're not... I don't know, but I felt that the fact that Doctor Who has sort of this history that, of course, well predates AI as we know it now, really helps.
Yeah.
At the end, I felt they walked into that territory. Like, the dad's literally staring off in the sunset, and the girl's okay because she's got her AI dad. Which is, I feel the episode almost plays it a little horrific, or like she is in denial in these scenes in the pit, where she's like clinging to this, and it's what it's for. He's even like, can I help with some blatant regrets? It looks like I'm causing distress. Maybe I should come back later. Like, he's a therapy tool, amongst other things. and I just felt at the end they leaned into that a little, especially while also acknowledging that he's like got a soul that is supposedly in heaven. In like it's not your dad, but also we're still just gonna be like, yeah, that's cool. He can like help raise you, I guess. It felt weird. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't as bad as the Star Trek one, but so I agree with you to a point, which is that last little bit.
Yeah.
But I like it that there's still, and again we've kind of followed this in Doctor Who, that even if we take it as like some horrific thing they've done to this man, there's still enough of him in the hologram that it supersedes. Like I can see the criticism that it's a bit like, oh, we diffused the landmine because of love. Well, okay, actually, now that I've phrased it exactly like that, surely that's how you would stop a war. No? It's like, hey, what if love?
Yeah. I think that
it is simplistic. Like, I would understand if you wanted to say it's a little simplistic to me, fair. But like it's not totally out of place,
I think so. But the biggest problem for me with the ending and how they resolve things is that I don't disagree with any of the conclusions or any of the like what they got to. That the dad went into the system and found proof that there like isn't an enemy that they're fighting and stuff.
Yeah, and he got
like,
real upset.
That tracks. But everything like happens off screen and in an instant, and it's like I buy what happened, but it didn't happen. Like I bet that it happened somewhere and something happened, but
so
I don't know. I wish there would have been a little bit longer where like everything got solved behind the scenes because dad's awesome. It's like I love that, but I want to see a little bit of that.
So what would you have wanted, like the dad in some sort of like virtual world scanning through code, or would you just want something different that would let you see?
I don't know what I would have wanted.
that's the problem, Kate, and that's what all writers struggle with. Is did you like it? No. Why? I just don't know, man.
Somewhere where we hear a surrender over the radio, or where the dad does come back as the AI and say like, I found no signs of life.
Is it not that they solved the immediate issue of the landmine, that they didn't address the war being over? Is that your?
I think
your problem?
A little bit of both of those. Like, I think I could get away with it if it's just the dad went in and turned off a landmine. That's cool. But the whole war just ended in like 3 minutes.
Okay, beyond that, they said he took out the Villengard mainframe, which implies the entire corporation went offline everywhere at that moment. It could have just been like the mainframe of this planet or something, but I understand.
I do love the idea. The execution just, the execution was even still good, but it just was something about it was a little shifty.
What I would have liked, and maybe this would fix it for you, is they just kind of leave at the end. Like this planet has stopped its, if you can call it a war, but like that's the resolution. And it's kind of like everything's happy now. But Villengard still exists until the 9th Doctor turns into a banana grove. Like, we know this didn't end Villengard because the Doctor is going to end Villengard earlier in his timeline and later in theirs. I would have liked maybe some message that they'd go and, like, campaign against them. Because that's happened before. Again, in a Moffat episode. There's, like, this flesh that it's basically something alive they're mistreating, and then the Doctor saves the day. Like, he saves a lot of the workers and some of the flesh, and he drops them off at headquarters. He's like, right, now you go fight this and never stop fighting it. And they're like, oh, absolutely, yeah, like we're watching right into headquarters and we are not leaving until they shut down the program. I think I would have liked something like that. Like, they say they're going to go to their government or Villengard and start fighting this. Because then you don't have to waste time on actually, like, creating world peace.
Yeah.
You don't even have to worry about that, but you can be like... I mean, show the problem is bigger than this. To carry our example, if we solve the war in Ukraine tomorrow, this doesn't stop the multiple looming wars on the horizon. That doesn't make China sit back and go, you know what? I do like Taiwan. Let's just keep it around. You know, it's... Would that have helped? Is that sort of the thing you think was missing?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Oh, I did find it funny as we get to, like, the proper ending. The Doctor admires this impossible but admittably gorgeous scene for 2 seconds. It's like, right, time to go.
I liked the line
Whoa.
of, like, how short Ruby's life is.
I know, that was, and again, lots of little great lines. But the Doctor is like, man, you just spent therapy for decades was dealing with the fact that you've literally never stopped running. And you're like, you know what? Time to go. Damn it, Caden. Those windows, they are just annoying enough. They're so close.
Yeah.
I also love that Rey Skywalker is just, like, holding the corpse of her dad. There's a frame I laughed at when you were talking. Tell me I'm wrong. Child Rey.
You're not. That's not.
Just Child Rey. She's hugging Ruby, and you see her holding what is the dead corpse of her father, like with her bare hands. Splice, by the way. It's in one of my notes.
As we're looking at the TARDIS right now.
Yeah.
Just to continue on my light problem.
It's tall.
I think part of it is that compared to every single thing on the TARDIS, the blue light on top is so much. It's the most saturated color on this entire screen right now.
I think it's a little excited about the view it's getting right now. It's just, it's a little, like, I feel like the light's not normally that tall. And I think what it is that the reason it's that tall is because you're usually closer. And if it was the height I think it should be, you're not going to see it because it's just covered by, you know, the height of the TARDIS. It's like, it should be it should be half that height. Hang on. 13th Doctor TARDIS. I'm not crazy. Yeah, it's also usually more white. I think they've changed the light. Here's some toys. Yeah, look, no, it's supposed to be smaller.
Oh, yeah.
And it was white. Oh, that's a Roomba. They've changed the light. They definitely
the blue
have.
could work for me if it was desaturated. It's too blue.
Maybe the environment isn't helping as well, but I agree that I was thinking of this light every time you've complained. Maybe it is that tall. Maybe. I don't actually. Do I? Hang on. Entertain them for just a little bit, okay? Go on.
The blue that the TARDIS even is right there. That's like a gray green. Like, yeah, hit me with your color theory. Okay, but then why not even adjust? Okay, adjust the surrounding environment because the light is added in post. That's a blue post light, or at least it's touched up in post. And if it's not, you could touch it up in post. Color theory the light if you're gonna color theory the TARDIS. The ambient lighting of the world that they're on. It's gonna change that blue tone a little bit. But I bet you that's the same blue tone as in the first episode. If I got a color picker, they'd be the same.
There's a car in the TARDIS.
What?
You remember Easter when we had the little kids over? One of them really likes cars, and we're still finding them around. He's jammed the TARDIS door open. I've went and grabbed what I believe to be somehow the only TARDIS in the house. I still can't find my actual TARDIS model, like the real one that goes through time. But I've got this massive 11th Doctor lamp. It's also got the Van Gogh painting. So it's an old TARDIS. It's a different model. But the light definitely used to be smaller. And also in the Van Gogh painting, it's smaller. I'll have to pay attention to 13 now. Are we gonna go? Fine.
I love that I've planted this seed in you.
No, it's annoying. Okay, there's Fear Her. For some reason, the first file on my... Oh yeah, we were looking at the Scribble Monster. Okay, there's Flux. I need a TARDIS. Oh, I need the bit at the end of the TARDIS. Not the end of the TARDIS. Not 1901. Go away, Yaz. I've dealt with you long enough. I'm looking for the bit where the Doctor and Yaz are on top of the TARDIS. This isn't even when she regenerates. Go away. Go away, Flux. Get out of here. I can stream for longer than you if I want. Should we just do all of Flux in one go? just stream it in 1 5-hour day. Here we go. No, this is the bit. This is the bit I'm talking about. Ah, see, it was smaller.
Oh,
I know chat can't see this. It was so much smaller.
I don't like that.
It's like basically the size of their butts. Like
Goofy lantern.
It is weirdly stubby. But look at that. Yeah, they're having ice cream in space. I know you couldn't see that chat, but it is better, but it's still too long. It's overcompensating. A generation, it's a lottery. Yeah, I think we talked about the rest of my notes. Oh, no. Okay. Do you have anything to say before I go on a rant about how, no, death isn't actually important? Or rather, like, the meaning of life? Didn't I warn you about this, or did I warn Alex? Because Alex sometimes complains when I complain about the episodes. I say, Alex, if they ever do an episode of Doctor Who where they talk about how death is like the meaning of life, run.
I don't think, but at the same time, I have to abandon ship and leave stream early today. I apologize so greatly to you and all the beautiful viewers.
We got all the ending stuff. I haven't told you about that. Like,
I know. I didn't plan on this, but
I promised. Okay,
I didn't plan on this.
Can you do an out of 10, like real quick?
Well, so yeah, I got to give my out of 10, and I think I'm gonna give it this episode. Boom is a strong 9.
Yeah, strong.
It's
just
a 9. It's
no points. Just 9.
Well,
don't want to pressure you, but I want to remind you, you have crossed the line where you can give points. You did it to the last one.
Yeah, it's like it deserves to be a 9 point something, but it's like it's such a good 9, you know? It's like a whole. No, I'm a 9, a straight 9.
I was
thinking it's so much better than an 8.9, you know?
I think I might. I've been thinking about this for a lot. I think I might give it a 10, but on the condition that after seeing future episodes, I can bump that down to like a 9.5.
I could give this a 9.3.
9.3? All right. I think it's more than a 9. It's either like one of the best 9s or one of the worst 10s. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with the 10, but on the condition that I can bump it down in the future based on other performance. Or maybe the high wears off. As I said, you know, this isn't the best episode of Doctor Who, but it's the best in a long time.
Yeah.
Dang. Gonna run on me.
9.3. I am. I had not anticipated this, but something has come up in the household.
Oh, all right. Well, is it something that I should stop streaming for?
No, you're good.
All right, good.
It's all good, but
okay.
I got to get a lot of things done in the next 15
go.
minutes. So, goodbye. Boom. Beautiful
I
episode.
told them about the death thing.
Au revoir. Good luck with your rant.
I won't be too much longer.
Okay, I'll see you next week.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
All right, mute Discord. I've probably done this rant a lot, not in a while. I really don't like the we've talked before about how it kind of undermines oh, the war, it's okay he died in war needlessly because death is what defines us. But this was a bad one in particular because snow isn't snow till it falls. Yes, I agree. I agree snow isn't falls till it falls, because snow falling is the equivalent of getting fucking born. Snow stops being snow when it melts. Yes, because it died. And that's when the snow stopped. Is snow supposed to be snow? Is snow falling supposed to be the snow dying? What survives of us is love. Absolutely. The only thing that survives of us is love. That's why someone for example, Hitler, just as a random example, the only thing that has survived Hitler is all of the love that Hitler had. No, but beyond the, really weird quotes to justify death being what defines us, if you want to live, 80 years and then die randomly at some point, plus or minus 10, feel free. Feel absolutely free. But no, the whole, death is something that defines us. Without death, life would have no meaning, is insanity. It's baffling. If you want to do that personally, go ahead, you be baffling. But, as an absolute, it's ridiculous. I I think of any historical figure, and in what way has their death defined them? I'll tell you how. It's because they died in like a really weird way, and that is the only record we have of that figure. That's like the only time. I'm not gonna go too much on this rant because other people have done it much better. But the one I particularly like to reference, is I type it into YouTube, is CGP Grey. Fable of the Dragon Tyrant, which I will put into chat. He didn't write the story. He based it off a story that also that author didn't write. I believe they retold. Here it is in the chat. It is a fable about death. The dragon is analogous to death. There's a kingdom. This dragon comes and starts eating people. And it's basically about how the people of this kingdom, they can't do anything about the dragon. And so they have to learn to live with it because they just do. Like, they do. There's nothing they can do about the dragon. And it demands, a certain number of people be sacrificed every so often. And over time, the people just learn to accept the dragon. Like, it's a fact of life. They can't do anything about it. And they even... Oh, it appears you've been in a call for yourself for more than 3 minutes. Thank you, Discord bot. It even, they even start to believe that, like, the dragon is good. That, like, the dragon brings meaning to their lives. That without that, you can see where I'm going with this. That, like, if their purpose in life is to be eaten by the dragon one day. Because everyone gets eaten by the dragon one day. But the fable is basically about the time where scientists finally have reached the point where they actually can, like, do something to the dragon, and they can start harming it. It's amazing fable about the resistance that the scientists face with, like, all the people, basically all the logical fallacies surrounding the idea that death is what defines life, and that the logical fallacy of because no one's ever done it, it can never be done. Wrong. Like, all the genetic research, because there are people looking into this, all the research we've done on all the experimentations on other animals, looking at our own genomes, there is every reason to believe that we could cure death. There'll functional immortality, of course. Like, if you were to go shoot someone in the head, we can't undo that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about functional immortality, where you will never die unless somebody kills you or something kills you. You'll just go on until that point happens. And I highly recommend it as an introduction to, hey, we actually have the technology to start working on and investing in this. Every day we don't do it is another day that a day's worth of people die. And also, you're alive now, and you probably don't want to be on the wrong side of this equation, because let's be honest, even if we cure death tomorrow, it's probably going to be pretty expensive and hard to roll out. Kurtzgazed, another YouTuber you probably can't spell, but have also probably heard of, have done great videos with analogies and looking into the mechanics. I'd highly recommend those. The Kurtzgazed video, or the CGP Grey video, should link to those. He's also done great videos on it about how you never die in the future. You always die now. And no, you will never be, it will always be like too soon. But Kurtzgazed is that, like, why would you, okay, no, start with the Kurtzgazed one. Because they have a great analogy. I'm just going to do the line that I love it, where immortality is not living forever. It's not. It could be if you wanted it to be. But immortality is like when you were a kid on a summer's day, no school, a summer's night, and you were playing outside, but the sun was setting and your mother called you in. Immortality is getting to stay out and play just a little bit longer until you're tired and you're ready to go to bed. That's what immortality is. A lot of the criticisms people say where I never want to live forever, including the Doctor, are because people don't live forever, so you would be the only one. And that's the criticism given. Nobody is talking about forcing immortality on everyone. In fact, that would help solve a lot of the growing pains if a lot of people still did choose to die. That would help us. And that would help buy us even more time to develop getting resources from space and whatnot. But Yeah, I was kind of tie back to CGP Grey. Yeah, that was the point. CGP Grey has a great video as well, where that quote of, like, you always die now. You never die tomorrow. You never die in the future. It is always now when you die. Where, do you really want to die decrepit at some point randomly, probably between, like, 70 and 90, when you don't know at all what your life state is going to be at that point? You don't know how you'll feel. You don't know if you want more or less time. Or would you rather die when you choose to want to die, whenever that time may be, assuming that it comes up at all? Because if you say the first one, why? There's no... Do you want to choose the time that might be right or the time that is? That's what immortality is. And it's very sci-fi, very everything to be like, oh yeah, like, because it's coping. Because, I mean, I understand it. Like, a tragedy has happened. Nobody wants to die. But, I mean, currently, even if we can technologically overcome it, you have to. Like, we don't have the immortality pill yet. We've only just, like, approved the first CRISPR gene therapies in, like, clinical, not clinical, in, like, actual patients. Amazing, by the way, for sickle cell anemia. Both of them, weirdly enough. But it's like, no, because if you keep that coping forever, if you tell yourself that, like, it's the meaning of life, then you're not actually going to fix what is a real problem you're ignoring. I mean, it almost comes back to this blind faith stuff again. Is, do you want your blind faith to lead you into that war where everybody dies pointlessly? Or do you want to acknowledge that actually we're at the point now where we could really make progress and start doing things? And maybe we discover some reason a human being cannot be immortal, or they can't be more than like 300 years. Maybe the brain just stops. It just can't function. It's got too many memories at that point. We don't know, but why don't we figure it out? Surely that's better than just assuming it can't be done. There's my mini rant over that Caden spared themselves over. I guess next week, where it's less impressive, we can talk about the villains, who we think they are. That'll be the midpoint. God, we're almost 50% done. Because there's two theories. There's a theory from the name Empire of Death. I can tell. If you want to, look, if you want to avoid spoilers, leave. Because I'm about to tell you what is probably the main villain of the series. I'll elaborate more next time, but just on record, there have been a lot of great theories that it is going to be Sutekh from Pyramids of Mars, 4th Doctor story. The Egyptian god of, I believe, death. In Doctor Who, he's the god of death. I think he's the first god in the canon, citation needed. But yeah, he'd make sense to be Brack. Empire of Death. He's the god of death, Sutekh. The figure we see with, like, Ruby at the church when Ruby was left has got, like, a withered old hand. That would kind of make sense for Sutekh. But probably most damningly is apparently one of the trailers has got, like, some company, I think, or I saw something where it might be a leak, I don't know, but there was like a Sarah Tech or something like that. It's like a 2-word, where if you abbreviate that, you cut out the middle. Sarah Tech, Sutekh, or maybe it was like Susan Tech, Sutekh. It's a very Russell T Davies pun. Like, it's probably Sutekh. Other theory, okay, leaks. Leaks. And also just, you can speculate this if you're really into Doctor Who. But this is season 2. I believe it's season 2. That part's theory. There are leaks that the Valeyard will be coming back, who is a weird incarnation of the Doctor, split-off incarnation, somewhere between the 12th and final regeneration, which is now, and it will honestly be now for, like, ever. But, it's basically like all the Doctor's evil, split off trying to get more regenerations, because it's like the end. It's nebulous how they were created. But anyway, I think the Valeyard's next season, and also Disney did like on YouTube, catching up on the series, what you should know if you're getting into Doctor Who. Like a 6-minute video that spends like a minute and a half on the Valeyard, who is absolutely irrelevant outside the one season he's in like some spin-offs. So he's a very weird villain to highlight. But I think he's coming back. I think he's coming back in season 2 because he doesn't really fit the pantheon. And if he comes back in season 2, that is Russell T Davis's 6th season of Doctor Who. And if you know how Russell T Davis used to write Doctor Who, the first 4 series are basically tied to the first 4 Doctors, their main antagonist. So season 1, William Hartnell fought the Daleks a lot, of course, created the Daleks, met the Daleks. Season 1 with 9 is about the Daleks. Season 2, the Daleks weren't really a thing in classic Doctor Who. There are a few arguments for the second Doctor's main antagonists. The Yeti were big. Honestly, it's either the Yeti, or he would fight the Cybermen a lot, because they were very successful, and they were pretty close to the Daleks, and we brought back the Cybermen. It's also worth noting that the Cybermen are way bigger than the Yeti ever were, unless, like, it was actually the 60s. Third Doctor, again, he spent a lot of time on Earth, but he really fought, for one, the Master, who I don't believe is in that series because he was in the previous one. Is he with Martha? No, the Master is, like, the big villain of that series. With Martha. That is the series that introduces the Master. I forgot. That's why. Season 3 is the Master. We also got the Centaurans, who were introduced in 3. And so the 3rd season of Doctor Who spawns with the 3rd Doctor's villains. The 4th season, with Donna... I can't remember. Who did Donna fight? Oh, yeah, Davros. And the 4th Doctor, he had a lot of villains, of course, 7 years. Not really a standout we haven't covered, but Davros was introduced in that era. The 6th Doctor, so what will be season 2 next year, the 6th Doctor only had 2 seasons, and the Valeyard was the villain for half of them, half of the episodes. It would make sense for Russell T Davis to be modeling these seasons, going 5th Doctor, 6th Doctor, 7th Doctor, I guess 8, and then he retires again. Or ironically, he has to do a 9th season centering around the 9th Doctor. That'd be funny. But that makes the obvious question: who is the 5th Doctor's main villain? Because Sutekh was a 4th Doctor story. As fun as he would be to bring back, he would break from a pattern that he's setting with the Valeyard in the previous 4 seasons. And I really struggled. I don't know. Because the 4th Doctor doesn't have a standout. If I had to choose, it'd probably be the Guardians, which tie to the God thing. The Guardians were introduced in the 4th, but the Black Guardian, like basically the essence of evil, was a big aspect of that era. You have Enlightenment, which has the Guardians. The other one is the Mara, who's like a big evil. He doesn't really fit with how strong the Sutekh theories are, and the Mara wasn't really a god. I don't remember what the Mara is, honestly. I've never been a big fan of Kinda, even despite how popular the story is. So the 5th Doctor, I might expect to see the Guardians, who were reintroduced in 13, or the Mara. I guess you could have the Mara. It does really feel we're going Sutekh, and maybe he's just skipping it. Maybe he couldn't think of a great villain with 5. I mean, you could have brought someone back, I imagine. We've got Mel at some point this season. She's not 5. The Brigadier's not 5, and we've got Unit. I don't know. 5 did have the struggles because he had the 20th anniversary. So he had a lot of recurring villains. I mean, that's why he had the Guardians. And I think season 21 continued that, where it had a lot of recurring stuff, like Sea Devils. So that's probably why you struggle with 5. And a bunch of recurring stuff isn't great for season 1. So I'm kind of pulled in 2 directions of who the big bad is going to be. I assume for 7, for like season 3, you'd probably want like Fenric. That's going to be the biggest one if you're not doing the Daleks, which to be fair, you could. You'd probably do Fenric. Big villain, very popular 8th Doctor story, but he's a god, but he's a different type of god. I think Fenric is one of the old ones from like the previous universe. But so was Sutek. I don't know. I need to watch Pyramids of Mars before the finale, because I still think we're getting Sutek. I'd watch Fifth Doctor, but, like, God, that, that season 20 still keeps getting delayed. When does it come out? The 4th? Oh, still before the end of we've got, like, 3 episodes after I get season 20. But we'll see how things go. I think I will tie up there. We'll talk more about that next episode with Caden. 73 yards. I think Unit is involved. I saw a reference to Kate. And they're going to Wales. I know that. I usually don't talk about this, but we're past the spoiler bar. That's all I know. No idea what it's a reference to. 73 yards. It might not even be a historical reference. It might be something in the episode. I mean, I'm sure it's something in the episode. And after that, we've got the only other episode not written by Russell T Davies. It's like a Renaissance-y, old-timey. Maybe it's... I don't know exactly what time. It looks very Baroque. But yeah, boom. Oh, did I rate? I did. I gave it a tentative 10. I might bring that down. Because it's not like the best episode of Doctor Who ever. But if that's how we define a 10, then there's only ever one 10. I might bring that down to a 9.9. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. But right now, and of course my wife hasn't seen it yet. They weren't feeling well. 9.3 divided by 2. So right now it's sitting at a 9.65, which is actually, I like that. I like 9.65. But it's the best one of the rankings so far. But yeah, I cover those theories. I'm going to leave World is Fiction. I'm going to leave Sutek. I'm going to leave 5th Doctor, 6th Doctor. Yeah, Doctor. I don't know why I do these on stream. Theory. 6th Doctor. Alex, what? With no context, give this episode a ranking of 1 out of 10.
What episode?
The one that's new that you haven't seen.
I can't give it a ranking if I don't...
Pick a number. Alex is refusing to have fun.
I'm not refusing to have fun. I'm confused. Oh, just based off of that still, I'll give it a good 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. There we go. Alex...
The only context we see being
don't worry,
this.
you'll get a chance to resolve it. This frame's like an 8 out of 10 at least.
Yeah,
well, no, Ruby's very disayla Ruby wants to go.
Oh, I thought she was smiling. It's 6 out of 10.
It might be my face minus. Ruby looks a lot like, actually, Ayla, I feel, in that.
No.
No?
It's your face blindness.
All right, fair. Is it it's the hair, though,
It's
right?
the hair.
Yeah.
It's because she's blonde.
Is Ayla?
Her face... Ayla's blonde. Her face shape is similar to Ayla's, but the rest of, like, her facial structure is nothing near Ayla's.
It looks like Ayla's bored. All right, fine. I'm getting looks as the dog whines because we're downstairs. But I will wrap it up after Alex's disappointing 7 out of 10. I mean, come on. But yeah, I will say, actually, this is interesting because it's a more serious episode. And Alex will get into the serious stuff when we watch Star Trek, but they mostly are for the camp. There's a reason they gave Church 9 out. Oh, Caden forgot to mention. Sorry, I was going to bring it up. He said in school, I mean, he's in high school, but he's surprised how many people he can talk to Doctor Who and, like, talk about Doctor Who with. It's spreading. It's becoming mainstream. I was very pleased to hear that. Like, people who might have been watching the show before, but, like, definitely weren't on it recently, people are watching new Doctor Who. So, brilliant. Success. I told him to wait and tell me about it. So I hope they were positive. This was before he went live, so, what do classmates think about Who? There we go. That's on the bill for next week. And I will say with that, thank you much. Oh God, my heart dropped because I didn't see a timestamp on my live preview, but that's because it's in the top left, not the bottom. 2 hours, wow. I will say thank you all very much for watching. These go on with Caden, but it's fun. I like